All right, we have Jordan Leavitt joining me right now. He will be competing on the kickoff card for the 2020 season of Dana White's Contender Series on Tuesday night against Jose Flores. Jordan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
It's good to have you here. I appreciate you joining me, and so early in Las Vegas. It's 8 a.m. over there. Hopefully this doesn't ruin your day with the early start time.
Oh, no, not at all. I woke up 8 minutes ago. It's all good.
Okay. Well, congratulations on the call. This is well-deserved. I mean, how does it all feel? Like, you've been working at this. You sort of had this goal circled to compete on this season's Contender Series, and you get on the first card. So how did you react to the news of getting this opportunity?
Yeah, I kind of had a boring response. I was just fishing in a lake for crawfish, and then I got a call from my agent, and he's like, "You got UFC Contender Series, 10 days." And I was like, okay, sure, cool. And then I hung up the phone and kept fishing. And then, like, you know, my father-in-law, he was excited for me. He's like, "That's exciting news." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I'll talk to my wife when I get back." And then I told her, and she's like, "Oh, cool, that's exciting news." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'll tell him yes." So then I got to my first photo shoot, and then it all kind of hit me. But it was kind of too last minute for me to get nervous. I don't have to worry about the weight cut because I just had one. I don't have to worry about my conditioning because I just fought. So it was I'm still kind of not sure how to feel.
So what was like the more memorable part of that day? The actual fishing experience or getting the call that you're fighting on the Contender Series? Like, what sticks out more?
I mean, we got a lot of crawfish, but I think the phone call is a little bit very, not significant, but a pretty, little first place.
Oh, there you go. Because you, like you said, you had competed, 2 weeks ago in LFA? You got that second round submission win, the old Anaconda choke, which was absolutely nasty. And, this was the first time that you were a part of a card on a really big promotion. It was on Fight Pass, so a lot of people got to see it. Did you sort of feel that extra motivation heading into that fight, knowing, hey, if I do something really impressive here, there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on me, including some very important ones to set me up for an even bigger opportunity? Was that in your mind at all?
Yes and no. So, I was aware of all the, I was aware of the stakes for the fight and how it was like definitely my biggest publicized fight ever. But then also having no crowd kind of makes it hard for me to get into the zone. They kind of just put us on a basketball court and like, okay, warm up and we'll come call you when it's your time. It was very relaxed. You walk out there and no one's there to cheer. There's no drunk guys yelling at you. Like, it was hard to, get into fight mode.
Well, it's a good thing you got that fight because now you're going to be fighting on the Contender Series. There'll probably be, there's obviously going to be a few more people in there, especially Dana White and the matchmakers. So this obviously, the timing couldn't have worked out better, right? You got to experience the no crowd and get to do this again. Now you don't have to jump on an airplane to do it. You could just go right down the street and fight, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are maybe the nerves to get to them, but for me, it's just a fight. It's another fight, another opportunity. I just can't treat it any different. Gotta go out there to impress, but I can't change the fighter that I am, and I can't feel anxiety I don't feel. So I'm excited.
I saw the video of you in your patented Christmas pajamas getting the nose swab COVID tests before the fight, and your reaction was absolutely amazing. What did that all feel like?
I was hearing from people that it tickled, but I didn't really think you could like feel tickles on your inside. So like, I was like holding my breath. I'm okay. I'm just gonna hold my breath, so it's not. And then as soon as I got in there, I instantly panicked and started started laughing. It was horrible. The nose is much worse than the throat. That's for sure. So
we prefer the throat.
100%.
The last time we spoke, it was I think it was like in early March or late February, and I was still on the freelance grind after that win you had in February, and it seemed, we talked about this, that every time you fight, something weird or chaotic happens along the way. Now, obviously, we are in a global pandemic, so that is chaotic, but outside of that, was the LFA fight a little bit of a change of pace? Did everything in the lead-in to the fight go smoothly this time, or is there another crazy story along the way?
Not a crazy story. I guess there's a little bit of a story. So my opponent was switched 2 weeks before the fight, and our information was a little wrong. They're okay, you're fighting this guy. He's a 45er. He's 5'6", and you're way bigger than him, so you should take it. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll take it. So then I get to weigh-ins and I'm staring down this 5'6" guy, this shorter looking guy. I'm like, oh, that's my guy. So, trying to look tough, look big. And then they say his name, and this not small 45 guy walks up to the scale, and I'm like, okay, he's not 5'6". I'm like, oh, he's actually taller than me. Oh, he's bigger than me too. So, we weigh in, and I'm kind of like messed up. I'm like, I call my agent, and I'm like, our information was wrong. He's not 5'6". He's not little. What else do we have wrong? But it ended up working out. Thought a really talented kid, but I definitely was not bigger than him, and he definitely was not a 45er. But that was probably the craziest thing for me.
Isn't that that's happened to you before, right? You thought you were fighting another guy, and another opponent stepped up to the scale that wasn't who you expected, right? This is not the first time that's happened to you.
Well, my first pro fight was the same thing, but it was an entirely different person, different height, different race, different, no hint of who it was going to be. So I was prepared. It wasn't the craziest thing that's happened to me. So.
Wow, something always happens. Whether it's big or small, something different always happens to you. But hopefully nothing changes heading into Tuesday night. You're going to face Jose Flores, and this is going to be your most experienced opponent to date. Not just, in number of fights, but Jose has had experience competing on the Contender Series once before. How excited are you to just have this step up in terms of experience and competition in your attempt to get to the UFC here?
It's super exciting. He's a good opponent. He's experienced in fighting since like 2009, I think, and he's much older than, well, not much, he's like 32. And for me, the more experienced my opponent is, the less anxious I feel. Because if you lose to a bad opponent, you got to start questioning if you are, bad. But if you lose to a good opponent, there's not as much pressure for me. Now that I know that I'm fighting a good guy whose record is 9-1, it's much more interesting. It allows me just to focus on fighting my best fight, as opposed to, if I lose to the guy who's 2-1, am I really any good and stuff? But yeah, I'm excited. He brings some interesting challenges to the table. I'm excited to solve them.
Do you know, outside of the record and, I guess the experience that you can find on the internet, do you know much about Jose at all? I'm not sure if you're a guy that watches tape on your opponents, or if you leave that to your coaches. How well do you know Jose, at least heading into a fight?
I feel like I know him reasonably well. I watched his last 3 fights. His fight against Frivola for Last Contenders in 2017. I watched that fight, and there were some holes there, but it's also been 3 years. Those holes might be different. But then he took about 2 years off, and he fought 2 not very good fighters, very bad records, like 1-7 and like 2-9. So it's hard to tell too much about him. He fought one really good guy, and it was back and forth, but then he lost, and he fought 2 really bad guys. So I don't think even though he's more experienced than me, I don't think his experience prepared him for a fighter like me, especially, on 2 weeks' notice. I'm not really a person that you could train for easily.
As you know, we are in this COVID-19 time, and there have been some gyms around the country that have had some COVID scares along the way. And Syndicate MMA, from what I've been told, is one of those gyms after some positive tests. But I guess with JoJo fighting this weekend, you're getting ready for Contender Series. Roxy has a fight coming up. I assume we're on the other side of that at this point now, right?
Yeah, 100%. The first few weeks when everyone got back, everyone expected a little bit more of an uptick in the number of cases, and that kind of happened. It's a very intimate, close, sweaty sport. But yeah, we haven't had any positive tests for a few weeks now, and I think we're past that.
Have you allowed yourself to sort of visualize Tuesday night, like from the walkout to the fight, sitting in the back on one of those chairs, socially distanced, of course, waiting for Dana to announce who's getting the contracts? Do you let your mind get to that place, or is this just sort of one piece, one step at a time for you?
Definitely one step at a time. Don't want to get my hopes up, because even if I win, I may not get a contract. This fight could change my life. It could not. So it's an important fight, but also it's not just about the fight. It's about making an impression. And I can't control the impression I make for the most part. They'll either like my fight or they won't. So I'm just trying to focus on the part that I have control over, and that's, what I can do to Jose Flores, and what I can try to stop him from doing to me, one step at a time.
What do you plan on doing to Mr. Flores on Tuesday night? How do you see this all going down?
I think pressure is my key to victory. I got to pressure and allow him to use his length. I think being a 6'1" lightweight definitely doesn't mean. I feel like that can definitely affect your cardio and affect how you can handle pressure. And I feel like if I pressure him out like right off the bat, I have really good chances to force him into positions he doesn't want to be in. I've gone the full distance a few times now, and I always feel like I have a little more in the tank, but I feel I have more confidence in my conditioning. I feel like I can pressure him all 15 rounds and hopefully get a finish before that 15 minutes is over. I mean, all 3 rounds, and hopefully I can finish him before the 15 minutes are over.
I know you're taking this step by step. You sort of had that like Bill Belichick, New England Patriots mentality, but I'm sure you've thought about it a little bit. Like if Dana says those magical words, Jordan Leavitt, this kid looked great, I have to have him. Welcome to the UFC, Jordan. What is that going to mean to you?
I mean, everything. It's going to mean I'm not going to have to be embarrassed when people ask me, "Oh, you're a professional fighter. I bet you make a lot of money." And I'll be like, "No, not really. Still kind of broke. One of the top prospects in the country, but I don't know where my next paycheck's coming from. People won't have to. I won't feel embarrassed when people ask me why I'm not. Why aren't you working a real job? Why aren't you in school? It'll be nice to be able to pay the bills and to take care of me, my wife, and our future family. It'll mean everything. It'll be definitely. It'll change my life.
I'm glad you said that because you got married in September, right? I saw.
I got married last June, so it's been about 14 months.
Oh, there you
13.
go. Well, happy late anniversary. But I don't think we've discussed that before. I've been a veteran of the marriage game for over 8 years now. But my wife has, at this point, since I got this new gig, has begun to understand the grind in the sport just from a media perspective, which is nothing at all compared to actually being a fighter. But you've obviously found somebody that understands the fighter life and how important that is for you. And because this takes a pretty special tag team partner to get that and understand the sacrifices you have to make to get to where you want to go. So how pivotal has that been for you in this road to get to Tuesday night and beyond?
It really was a turning point for me. Before I met her, I was, a 45er, and I had these health restrictions with my diet that I wasn't following. And then as soon as we got married, she was like, "Okay, no, we're going to take care of your body and stuff. No more of these crazy weight cuts." And then I started losing weight, started getting healthier. But then it moved me out of the 45 weight class when I got healthy. I didn't start working out any harder or anything. I just started putting on muscle. I started feeling better. I lost a lot of inflammation and everything. So I just, she really fixed my life and of course, my emotional and all those other things. But with my fight life, she really helped me get healthy. She really makes the weight cuts easier, and she's very supporting. A lot of people are worried that when I got married, I would be tamed. I wouldn't be a beast anymore. I wouldn't want to fight anymore. But she definitely gives me some extra fire out there.
Yeah, I think that stuff kind of motivates you more at the end of the day. And then, once my son was born, that just changed everything. But you feel like, you want to make her happy wife, happy life. That's not just a cliche. That's the real thing, right?
Mm-hmm. When I fight out there, I'm not just fighting for me. I'm fighting for her. I'm not just fighting for my future. I'm fighting for our future. And it definitely changes my perspective a little bit. It definitely makes me push a little harder in the gym and, try a little harder out there. And definitely don't want to get knocked down in front of your wife. It's much better to, make her happy than make her pity me. So, yeah.
Is she going to be allowed to be in the arena when you fight or no? I would assume not, right?
I don't think so. She wasn't at my last fight either. It was kind of hard, especially traveling and weight cuts without her. Definitely felt the absence. But she'll be watching. And then after I win, I'll go home, go out to eat, and then I'll get back to the gym.
I see the bookshelf behind you, and there's a lot of books up there. You do have, for those who follow you on Facebook and social media, you have a book challenge going on. So for those who don't know what that is, explain what your book challenge is and how far you have come along with it. I'm sure it's kind of been held up slightly because you have back-to-back fights here, but how far along are we on this challenge?
Yeah, my goal's been to read 70 books this year. I read 100 books last year, but I decided to take a step back because I'm more active with fighting. But I'm about 42 books in. Got more than halfway done. Definitely been having a lot more fun reading Stephen King, not as much on political, these big old thick political and religious texts and everything. it helps me decompress. Fighting's a grind, and reading is kind of an escape sometimes. But yeah, I'm got 28 books left, and I have 70 for the year.
Wow. Is there any book in particular that like blew you away that you didn't expect to be as good as, when you opened up the first page?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say, that's a good question. Probably this book, The Courage to be Disliked. It was this self-help book. And basically the premise of the book is basically anybody can find happiness if they have the courage to be disliked by other people. So it's basically a book that's supposed to help you try to be yourself and don't care what other people think. I'm not a big self-help person, but that book was definitely, I kind of feel like I already internalized the mindset before I read that book, and kind of explained probably how I see things. But definitely that book helped me out. Anything by Stephen King. His character work is awesome. He built his, forget the word. Like the atmosphere is creepy and eerie. It's exciting. Definitely, Stephen King and then The Courage to be Disliked are the high points of this reading year for me.
Yeah, Stephen King is great. What do you think of like the comparison from movies to the books? Because some people think it's great, some people think it's been awful, especially the last decade or so that the movies haven't portrayed the greatness of the books that he's written. What do you kind of think of the comparison between the two?
His books are way, way darker. I feel like he couldn't, especially he always has children. Well, has a lot of children protagonists and everything. And they do very controversial things like 11 and 13-year-olds having sex in a sewer or kids shooting up their school. His books are very dark. And I feel like in the movies, they kind of have to nerf it because, it was an outrage when he wrote these books like 30 years ago. It would definitely be an outrage that they came out, 100% true to the material now. His movies I still think the movies are good. They're different, though. They definitely don't feel like King. His books are way weirder. Yeah,
like The Shining, the movie is great. It's a classic, but the book is way better, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yes, I'm in the middle of The Shining right now. It is much better.
Yeah. As people probably know, Jordan, I've been singing your praises as a top prospect for a little while now. I'm very happy to see you get this opportunity on Tuesday night. All the best to you in the build to this fight with Jose Flores and in the cage on Tuesday night in front of Dana and the brass. Thanks again, man, for the time. The pajama game is outstanding as always.
Thank you very much, man.
Take care, brother.